Hi guys. I just want to give like a quick update on like Rime stuff that's been going on like over the past couple of days that people are like talking about their crafting and stuff like that, and currently what I am doing in keys. So at the moment I have kind of shifted all of my gems around. Currently, I'm playing I'm playing basically to overcap purple, and I'm putting everything else into red. Um, Please do not copy what I'm doing unless you have extremely good gear. I'm sitting about 29% haste, which is totally fine, and I'm sitting at 29% crit and 22% expertise, and I'm dumping spirit. I'm getting haste to a decent amount to hit enough breakpoints, and I'm going into crit expertise. The reason I'm not going into yellow is, for me personally, my natty haste is insanely high. You guys do not have this much haste, probably. Like, unless you have very, 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 very heavy haste gear, you will not be sitting at this much haste. And so going into haste to get this 3% haste, to get this another 3% flat haste, is very, very strong, as well as getting the stamina and haste node, obviously, as well as haste and execute. So unless you are pretty high haste, pure natty, I would highly recommend not copying what I'm doing at the moment. I still believe going at least maybe 5, 6 into yellow, and then into purple, and then to red, maybe blue if you want some more ult, but we've been blue recently. But going into yellow first to get your haste, to get your breakpoints when you're lower geared, and then going into purple, and then going into possibly red, there is probably the best thing you can do. So haste first, then purple, and then the red tree. Okay, that's going to be better for everyone. Talking about some like expertise as well. There's some contention to get 3 points into expertise if you have like enough like gems, gem sockets and stuff like that, but not high enough like amount of gems. Getting an absorb shield for 10% of your HP is very, very strong. Could be a contention, just like shore up like these first 3 points is not bad, honestly not bad. Maybe this point is not bad, but the ability cooldown's kind of whatever, sadly. The reason we are kind of moving out of blue recently is just a lot of people are noticing like, oh, we're only getting 1 to 2 ults in in a dungeon, like in a short adventure. All of the short adventures we're getting maybe 1, 2, like we're getting 2, maybe 3 ults in an entire run, and you're just not being able to abuse the 24% increase int from this at good enough. It's still a good node. It's still very, very nice to get to press ult and just absolutely blast something in seconds. So you become like one of the strongest ult characters in the game. It's absolutely absurd. It's very, very fun, but a lot of people want more consistent damage. They don't want to play around a 3-minute cooldown that they only get to press twice a dungeon, right? So that is kind of the reasoning why we're not going into blue as much now, and we're kind of shoring more into red. Having a flat 3% primary stat above 80% is just a constantly good stat. This is basically the Wraith Tide set minus this is almost the Wraith Tide set. It's kind of insane. And especially getting the 6 node, I'm, as you can see, a little bit short. I would love to be able to get the 6 node without dropping a set, but I don't know how I would do that. But 9% while above 80% is absolutely bonkers. This is like, you also get stamina, you also get you get good stamina, which is good to save you from one-shots. You also get a 3% stamina, and you get 4% more damage to bosses. Red is a very, very strong tree, as well as purple and yellow. So those are the main 3 I would focus on. Probably don't dip into these 3 unless you like the blue, unless you like the playstyle of massive ult, you're going crazy, go ahead. There's also been a couple of people that come into the chat and asked about like full spirit maxing Rimes. The reason that is not good, a lot of people are pointing out like, oh, the duration of your spirit heroism is increased by 18 seconds. The reason this doesn't work is the duration of spirit heroism is just the haste buff. It does not actually extend the damage buff or the instant class glacial blasts from your Wrath of Winter. It increases your Spirit of Heroism, which is the 30% haste. It does not increase the Winter Orb generation, the 20% damage, the instant glacial blast, or anything else. It is just a haste bonus. That is why this is very unappealing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, why wouldn't Spirit work?" That is the reason why it's maxing Spirit does not work in the sense that you think it does. There might be a build there, but it's increasing the haste, not the actual bonuses of damage and insta-cast and stuff like that. Okay. Um, yeah, this is currently what I'm running. Obviously, my stats will change depending on my relics, which I constantly move around. This is also not final. This was me kind of just messing with some stuff. I might be dropping a set soon. I don't particularly know. I'm just still kind of feedly crafting it and talking to some people about everything. Now, another big thing I wanted to talk about today is actually the voidtouched conduit. This is my open tree. I rerolled it a bit. I got hidden power. I got willful momentum. This is my personal, probably what I'm running. I could move if I got a different defensive stat. The first one is anything. Maybe I would move or change this a little bit. But this is currently what I'm running. I think this is perfectly applicable in almost any context of the game. This is totally good. I wanted to talk about how Voidbringer's Touch actually worked. A lot of people in my comments are asking for more like explanations on it and stuff like that, and I want to just clear up some of those conversations and help inform people. So, the way Voidbringer's Touch works is that when you throw it on one person, you can see this is the debuff, and essentially, you can actually read it here. You'll do 30% of all accumulated damage that the source character has done at expression, or the accumulated damage reaches 2,000% of the source's primary attribute. Okay? Its cap is increased by your primary attribute, right? So your intellect. So, and that is actually like sort of snapshotted on when you cast it. So, for example, I have the Drakheim set, which is going to increase my int by 20%, which is then going to increase the cap for my Voidbringer's Touch by that 20%. That is why we want to be pressing Wrath of Winter, at least with Drakheim set, at least with the, if you're running any of the Spirit nodes, you want to be pressing it before you press Voidbringer's Touch. That way, you get more bang for your buck from your Voidbringer's damage. The second thing is damage bonuses. So that's how the percentage int bonuses work. If you have any sort of possible percentage int bonuses that you can get, for example, willful momentum. You might want to fish for a willful momentum proc to increase your main stat by another 4.8%. To possibly increase the max of your Voidbringers as you can. If you get a hidden power proc, which is a possible 12% increase to your main stat, that is another very massive thing, right? If you get both of those procs, you're getting insane amounts of increase int, and then you want to be pressing your weapon, right? That is how int bonuses work with the weapon. Int bonuses before you press the weapon. Now let's talk about the damage bonuses. Ice Blitz gives 20% more damage. It does not actually matter when Ice Blitz is applied or you press it, as long as it is pressed before the pop of your weapon. Damage bonuses work at the very end. So, for example, if we Voidbringer's Touch, I'm just going to throw a Cold Snap in it. Okay, it's going to instantly pop because these are training enemies. That's annoying. But a lot of you are wondering how to get Winter's Embrace to go with the Voidbringer's Touch, specifically in single target when you're not in your ult. And yes, Winter's Blessing, or Winter's Embrace, sorry, does the 20% more damage does apply to Voidbringer's Touch. That does work. So as Rime, we can abuse 20% increases the damage, 20% damage from our ult, 20% damage from Ice Blitz, and another 20% from Winter's Embrace. This is a big reason why Rime is one of the most disgusting abusers of Voidbringer's Touch, because we can stack 20% damage increases to the pop of our weapon. In AoE, in a large enough AoE pool, you are going to be popping your Voidbringer's Touch during your Bursting Ice window. And you're not going to have to worry about it. You can just turn your brain off, do your AoE rotation, and it will pop with your Bursting Ice when it's Embrace window. That will happen. In single target, outside of ult, consistently you will probably not be able to line up, or at least forcefully pop the Voidbringer's Touch from enough damage unless you have Funnel turned into the boss. This is why Funnel is also very, very good for Rime. For example, on Silken Hollow, last boss, there is the Call Children phase. If you can line up your Voidbringer's Touch to go in that phase, and you AoE during that phase, you can actually forcefully pop a max level Voidbringer's Touch straight into the boss. That is a very, very good boss for Voidbringer's Touch because of the funnel. And when I talk about funnel, I mean because Voidbringer's Touch accumulates 20% of all damage you deal to any enemy. You do not need to single target to get this effect. I could put the weapon over on this training dummy and AoE over here, and I would still get the pop. Now, some people were talking, apparently there is technically a range to this, but this sort of range I don't believe actually like affects it. Yeah, you can see, like, this is plenty of fine. My target can be over here, I can be damaging these people, and it will still pop the weapon that's on this far right training dummy, right? It is any enemy you deal gets put into the weapon. Okay? And you can also see the cap is actually increased right now to 307 because I had a Sithral set proc, and if I move away and reset, it's actually down by 40k. Yeah, so in the single target, if you do your rotation normally, you're not going to have a Winner's Embrace lined up for the 15-second pop of the Voidbringers. It's going to be slightly delayed to like your next Bursting Ice, Freezing Torrent combo. You'll have Bursting Ice in time to press it for the Voidbringers. But personally, I've done like some testing. I've tried both where I pop my Bursting Ice right before my Voidbringers touch to see if it'll like to see how much 20% more damage on it. Let's see how good it is. Personally, I do not like that. You can do that though. Just doing your normal rotation, it will desync your Bursting Ice from your torrent if you aim to get a Bursting Ice at the last seconds of your weapon. Like if I was doing my normal rotation, I don't want to pop the weapon. But it will basically fall off. Like you can get it. Bursting Ice is right about like, oh, you can cast it like right about here. You'll get the pop, and it'll get the 20% damage increase, right? That will desync your Bursting Ice from your torrent, which does not feel good personally, but as long as you just keep doing your normal rotation, it'll line up eventually, so it's not the end of the world. So you can do that if you like. Personally, I've been testing it. It doesn't feel good to me. I don't necessarily care too much about that plus 20%. I care about just doing my normal rotation and just consistently doing my rotation over and over and over to maximize that end, and the weapon is just on top. Another thing is yes, the Voidbringer's Touch can crit. That is sort of kind of why we're going into these nodes in the purple for more crit, for your crits to do 12% more damage. That's our thought process. Our weapon hitting just 12% harder when it crits is kind of bonkers, and also it just gives us a lot of crit, which also affects all your other buttons, obviously, right? Another reason why purple is good is because like the talents, Sulfur's Torrent has 100% crit strike chance when you get it, so our Sulfur's Torrent just doing 12% more damage is also kind of bonkers. But some last notes about the Void Touch Conduit. Int bonuses, remember int bonuses before you use the weapon, damage bonuses when the weapon is popping or about to pop, and the damage scales with expertise, intelligence, and it can crit. Okay? Anyway, that is basically how I'm talking about this. Remember, any damage, funnel's good, yada yada yada. One last thing is the talents that we are currently running. This is the current setup that most people are running. A lot of us are moving out of a lot of the other Rime players are moving out of Cascading Blitz. This is fine still, but a lot of people are just kind of moving out of Cascading Blitz. Reason being is that we don't have insane haste numbers. Like I'm playing kind of low haste, so I'm unable to keep Cascading Blitz up for permanent uptime. I know if you have enough haste and enough ticks of your torrent, you can literally have Cascading Blitz almost at 90% uptime, something bonkers like that. Personally, I don't enjoy that playstyle. So I prefer going Binding Gold, which increases my crits by another 10%, and Avalanche to fix the AoE of missing Cascading Blitz. This helps in single target. Cascading Blitz is a very, very strong single target talent, but I can't abuse it too much. But this is basically the build I would recommend for everyone. Of course, moving Tundra Guard and GGB for each other whenever you'd like. So this is the main build. This is also on Toonic's guide at fellowsguide.com. Fellowsguide.com. There should be a guide by a guy named Toonic. Wonderful guy. Helps me with a lot of my information and theory crafting and stuff like that. yeah, this is basically the quote-unquote meta build that a lot of the high-end Rens are running. And you can move like Thunder Guard to like GGB. This is what I would recommend for most people. If you don't like Thunder Guard, just go into, or you don't like GGB, go into Thunder Guard. Um, there is some, I did see some alterations. Some people were running like Chilling Finesse a little bit. Some people were running uh, there's like one guy who's running Cascading Blitz, Wisdom of the North, and Chilling Finesse with like Boots Legendary. You can do that. Like, sure, there's tons of ways to build Rime. There's tons of way to play Rime, guys. You don't have to follow what I'm saying by like any like. It's not what I'm saying is not the Bible for Rime. It is just what we, as like the people that have just playing this game a stupid ton, have like sort of just decided and been like, oh, this is kind of fun. I like this. This feels good. Remember, we have no sims yet. We actually don't know if what I'm doing is actually even smart. This might be completely troll. No idea. But you never know, right? Um, but that's a little bit of an update, guys. The rotation, by the way, is the exact same. Just keep slamming your buttons on cooldown, and you'll be totally fine, guys. Um, if you have questions, just make sure leave a comment. You guys can come over to my Twitch, twitch.tv/shushwow. I stream there pretty regularly for any of your dying and burning Rime questions. And yeah, hope you guys. Hopefully this update helps some of you guys out. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Have a great vibe today.